I'm Marjorie Liu, and I freaking love comics.
Comics, movies, TV, video games, anime, your powers combined. I freaking love comics. Live with Judah and Robo.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Judah. I'm sitting here with Robo.
What's up?
And, man, it's really good to talk to you. It's been a while. It's been like 2 weeks, maybe?
2.5 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
Real life called, and where were you at? You were in...
I was in the Big Island.
Yeah, you were suffering over on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, it sucked, man. It sucked. So much sunshine and beaches. And no, actually, it really did suck. I was working the whole time.
And then, but here's the deal. To all of our Army and Marine Corps people that listen to this, where did you guys sleep? You guys were, like, camping out in the dirt in the field?
No, not exactly. We were at a hotel, but, man, it was like... It wasn't even like a 5-star. It was
like 4.5. It
was like a 4.5 star.
They didn't even have maid service.
Not even.
No, but so now I get it. Like, so you're in the field and you work and you job it, but while the Army stays on the top of the hill, you come back.
You know what? They should have joined the Air Force. I don't know. I don't know what to tell them.
We all make decisions.
Exactly. And we're actually recording in a different location today. We're recording at my place. Normally we record at Robo's place, but we decided to just get a little wacky.
Yeah, Judah Studio. But here's the deal.
You're not going to hear that obnoxious dog clamping around. Instead, it's my cat who's passed out on the sofa right next to me.
I don't have an obnoxious dog, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just kidding.
I have a regular dog. He's fucking awesome.
Anyway, there's so much to talk about. There's so many things going on. The thing that's at the forefront of my mind is The Mandalorian. What about you?
Awesome.
Yeah, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
So we're 3 episodes deep, and man, it's the thing that struck me the most about it is it's incredibly Star Warsy. It's probably one of the most Star Warsy things I've seen since Rogue One. Like, it really just feels like I'm in the middle of the original trilogy.
But here's even more than that. Like, exactly correct. Super Star Warsy. I'm in the world, but not in a sort of like, no pun intended, clonish kind of way, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like it's its own deal.
Yeah,
it's perfectly like, hey, if you lived in the Star Wars world and you wanted to make a Western, here's your Mandalorian, all on its own.
I 100% agree. Like, it pushes into its own little niche, but it continuously reminds us. Like, there's a scene where they're walking and you see, like, on this planet, someone has, like, a spit roast where they're roasting a Kowakian monkey lizard.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, like, the same species as Salacious Crumb, that, like, parasitic thing that lives on Jabba.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. It's just these little details, and I love it.
It was actually, I'm not going to lie, it was a little uncomfortable.
Watching the live one, watching them cook I almost felt bad.
I was just like, what the hell?
He's borderline sentient. Like,
You're
he
right.
laughs.
Exactly that.
Like, when Jabba's licking or sexually assaulting Leia, like, he's laughing. So we know that they're capable of, like, understanding what's going on around them. Like, it's a sentient creature. As much as I hate Salacious Crumb, he's obviously a lesser of the species.
Right. He's not a good
person. Not a good Kowakian monkey lizard. Right. But the one that's, like, watching his other dude get, like, roasted, I feel bad for him.
Can you imagine if instead of that scene they had an Ewok on a spit roast?
Oh yeah, I'd love that.
I mean they were like animals, right? Wait, what?
Yeah, no.
Like, that would be true. But yeah. So anyways, getting back to the Mandalorian.
One question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in. I know we talked about this. We were like, we're gonna have a really structured conversation about it, but
it's gonna flow. It's gonna sound like a video essay.
But come on, let's just talk about what's on everybody's mind. Don't Jawas only live on Tatooine? Why are Jawas on other planets besides Tatooine? That's weird. You know what I mean? Are Jawas now an intergalactic species or an interstellar species rather than a like native to Tatooine? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
you remember Empire Strikes Back when, like, 3PO gets, like, is getting blasted and then he gets taken apart and Chewie finds him, like,
City?
in Cloud City, disassembled. Those are those little people. Those are Ugnaughts.
Yeah, and now he's like, now he's the I have spoken. Yeah,
I love that guy.
So anyway, so StarWars.com has names him as Kuil. Well, I mean, the credits name is Kuil, but you look up Kuil on StarWars.com, and they say that his planet's on Arvala 7.
Arvala 7.
So
not Tatooine.
So check this out. Here's my deal. in the world of Star Wars, going from planet to planet it's like going from city to city.
It's doable.
You have junkers, these massive space stations that are full of poor people who just pirate and break apart other crap. Like, you know, so for Jawas to maybe not have their own ship, but be taken to another planet so that they can, you know, scavenge and
I guess so. I mean,
whatever.
I guess so. I've never seen a Jawa pilot, but then again, they could have just gotten transit somewhere else. But did they bring that giant ass sandcrawler, or did they build a new sandcrawler when they got there? I don't know. You know,
I don't. Well, if you look at how big that sandcrawler is versus the other one, just imagine
the original one.
Yeah, just imagine the engineering feat it has to have taken.
This gigantic tank thing.
It's huge, yeah. And it just goes throughout the whole planet, breaking apart these things. So I don't think these dudes are as what's the word?
Primitive.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not primitive.
No.
Although the Mandalorian still kills them with impunity. But
well, I mean, wouldn't you?
They're stealing his shit.
They took
whatever. I think
your car.
I think we're going to see a major character change in him, because the way he's introduced in these first 3 episodes is he doesn't care. He'll shoot you. He'll do any job. He's got his code, but he's not like, I'm a bounty hunter, but I'm just kind of a good guy. He's a no shit bounty hunter, and I think we'll call him Baby Yoda for lack of a better term. The introduction of Baby Yoda is really a big turning point for him. I think we'll start to see him display a little bit more compassion and restraint going forward.
Well, to use a D&D reference, and if you're not familiar, after this we'll go over some D&D stuff. But you have like the different alignments, and one of them is called chaotic neutral. And so the Mandalorian, and like most bounty hunter characters, I imagine, would be, if you're like a pure bounty hunter and you follow this warrior code, like the Mandalorians do, then you would be chaotic neutral, meaning you're not good, you're not bad, but you don't follow laws. You do your own deal, and you do what needs to be done for your own personal survival.
You exist in the gray area.
Right, and yeah, exactly. And so what I like about the fact that when he comes across Baby Yoda, and then he turns him over to the Empire, which by this point has been highlighted, especially amongst the Mandalorians, like the people who know, right? Assuming Boba Fett is, you know, his interactions with the Empire, everybody knew about. That it shows an evolution of character. So, and what I mean by that is this. So let's go super nerd real quick. On Dungeons and Dragons, you when you're building your character, you do your role, and part of the character sheet, part of the character build is what is your alignment, right? And then if you have a good dungeon master, then that dungeon master is going to kind of like enforce that, right? So if you make a tiefling rogue who's chaotic neutral, then all of a sudden he's praying to a god and wants to be righteous and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're not supposed to be doing, like, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, what I like about what would be realistic gaming and is an evolution of character. Like, you can, so, yeah, if you're raised, you know, we see the flashbacks of him getting saved from the village, and his parents are presumably dead. If you're raised to be this since a child, sure, but when you are challenged, then what do you do from that point? And it's not realistic to go, I am, again, just to keep with the phrasing, I am chaotic neutral, and nothing I ever will come encounter that I encounter in my life will ever change that. No, it's awesome. I think it's great that he's like, and he struggled. He did give the baby over,
right?
And he struggled.
It's cool. It is cool, and it was very triumphant to see him like go back and be like, fuck it, I'm taking him back. I'm taking this adorable little baby Yoda. Yeah, I definitely found that very fulfilling.
Yeah, that was dope. One thing I did get nervous about, and I thought I was calling it. So I annoy the shit out of my family, Ben and Mylene, and as I'm watching movies, I always go, here's what's gonna happen next. Or I'm calling in. We all kind of do it, and I think I do it a little bit too much, but. When he was in the fight with the guild for taking the baby, and then the other Mandalorians came in, I wasn't happy at first. I was like, oh shit. Because in my head, I'm like, he's breaking a code.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be a lot harsher towards him.
No, but see, here's the deal.
But they were totally on his side.
Yeah, completely.
It was
because
weird.
their code, when the dude says you're breaking the code, I realized at that point
He's not talking about the Mandalorian code. He's talking about the bounty hunter code.
Yeah, that guild, right? And
Right.
so not everybody in that guild's a Mandalorian. The Mandalorians, trying to like scrape up money, and they're not a great people anymore. The guy's pissed that they're in these caves and kind of like doing this odds and end jobs shit instead of being the great people on Mandalore that they were.
Yeah, you're right.
But when they came down, they're like Mandalorians for Mandalorians first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yep, if he wants the baby, if he doesn't want you to have the baby, then fuck you, you don't get the baby. You know what I mean? Like your guild's code doesn't mean anything to us. You're not going to kill him while we're here. Oh man, it was so dope.
You're totally right. And let me tell you, the lore here, as far as the lore goes and just staying in universe and consistency and continuity, you really couldn't have a better team. I mean, this is written by Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
And directed by, at least partially directed by Dave Filoni. Partially, there's a whole team of directors, a whole team of writers. But
and he does Rebels, right?
Yeah, Rebels and the Clone Wars, which, as far as non-movie Star Wars content, I think most people would agree that those are two of the best. And there's a lot of stuff involving Mandalorians in the Clone Wars, and we kind of dive into it in the Rebels as well. And he's really in his element here, so it's really exciting to see just the consistency. And one of the things that makes all this Star Wars content so great is how it all gels. It's all the same universe.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes we look at these directors and the writers and we go, what the hell? Did they even read the source material
exactly.
first? Or like they did, but you can tell they didn't care, blah, blah. Like you can look at the director and like, bro.
That's how I felt with TLJ, by the way. But, yeah.
Oh, that really awesome movie.
The Last Jedi, yeah. I mean, it would have. I think it would be a really awesome movie in any other universe. It's just like I had to remind myself while watching it. This is a Star Wars movie. Even with Luke Skywalker on the screen, I'm like, that's right. This is a Star Wars movie. It just didn't really fit for me. But
so then you're not excited about next month then?
No, I am. I am excited for next month because I love The Force Awakens.
I'm excited.
It's the Force. I loved The Force Awakens, and J.J. Abrams, who did Force Awakens, is coming back to direct The Rise of Skywalker. So I have high hopes for it because, I see The Last Jedi as just kind of a hiccup, and it's not really J.J. Abrams' fault because he wasn't part of it. So I'm glad they kind of recognized that and brought back J.J. Abrams. It's going to be awesome, and I'm excited to see Palpatine in there as well. When I heard his voice, when I heard his laugh in the preview, I was like,
chills.
Oh my God, yeah. So it's pretty exciting.
Like you were going somewhere else with that joke, but we'll go with chills.
Chills, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is my chills noise. There's a lot of talent involved in The Mandalorian, and it's not just Dave Filoni. I mean, we got John Favreau. Am I pronouncing that right? John Favreau? John Favreau? Whatever. John F. He's, that's our Iron Man dude. So, he's really talented. He's been really involved in the MCU, and it's cool to see him involved in Star Wars. And then, exciting for me, I saw him in the closing credits, and I had to double check and make sure it was the same guy. But Christopher Yost is like one of my favorite comic book writers ever. He wrote this X-23 run. It's kind of like this X-23 origin story that was so deeply moving to me that like when I was finished reading, I just kind of like gazed off and was like, huh, man, the world was cruel to Laura Kinney. Like I was just really moved. Like it felt like almost a tear if I did that.
What were the titles that he wrote?
Huh?
What were some of the titles he wrote?
Oh, so he wrote X-23. He also wrote one of the best fucking X-Force, not the Uncanny X-Force, but right before Remender's run, he wrote kind of a short X-Force run with Clayton Crane on doing the art, and it is incredible. I mean, it's so gory and badass and violent. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And then he also did kind of like, he took over on the new X-Men, and like, I'm not talking about the original Grant Morrison new X-Men, but the second volume of new X-Men started off as kind of a fun like teen drama, but then Christopher Yost took over, and it took like this just dark turn, and it became really, really badass. So it's cool that he's on the writing team for The Mandalorian. Yeah,
this is I'm extremely pleased. I know there was a little bit of controversy around it from some other some other parts of the internet. But to be honest with you, I started it and I was just like, yes, this is what I'm looking for.
I would say less controversy.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably one of the least you can have in this day and age. But this the music, the Star Wars version of like a wah, wah, wah,
yes. Oh my God, you're right.
mean?
I noticed that too. Like in Good, the Bad, the Ugly, it's like
yeah, exactly.
And then,
Exactly.
yeah.
and then it's like, hey, imagine that, but for Star Wars. And then Mandalorian's like, I got you. Like, here you go.
Hold my beer,
the whole
fam.
thing is dope. And it all sets up, by the way, for a badass video game. And I guarantee you it's gonna happen.
You're absolutely 100% right. In fact, it almost, and I don't mean this in a negative, but just the structure makes me feel like a video game in some ways. Like, this is the NPC you visit that gives you your next mission, or like, oh, this is where you go, where you bring these things that you earn on your mission, and you get your gear is upgraded.
Like the forge master. You give her the deal, and you have some new armor. Like, oh wow, you beat the rhino beast, and now you get a whole set. Like, oh yeah, that was awesome. I rolled a crit.
Like that's like a side quest. Like they're like It has the feel and structure of a video game, but not in a bad way. And kind of a fun way.
It's awesome. Like I watch it and I go, I can't wait.
They could almost change nothing and just make some of the parts playable and make like decisions. They could literally turn that into a sweet open world RPG.
So I know you don't play video games a ton. What's that game you love?
I mean, I'm still all about the original Mass Effect trilogy.
So Mass Effect. So that kind of genre is great. I wish you had played the new one, this new game that just came out. I forget the studio name, but Outer Worlds. They were responsible for Fallout 4. And
I like Snake. Have you ever played Snake?
Shut up. And so Outer Worlds is dope, and it's one of those Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout sort of open world, choose your own adventure sort of deals. And when I was watching Mandalorians, I'm like, I really hope Star Wars does like an open world deal where you are a Mandalorian, and given the different kinds of Mandalorians that we've seen from Boba Fett to this dude, whatever his name is, and that maybe the game progresses and what kind of bounty hunter you want to be, what kind of Mandalorian you want to be, depends on the choices you make.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Games, if you want to hire me as a consultant, I'm up for it.
The only tricky part is, as Lucasfilm kind of put out, all Star Wars content is canon now. Everything they don't make non-canon Star Wars content. Right. So even the games, if they make a game, it has to exist with enough wiggle room where it doesn't contradict any other thing.
Easy.
No matter what your choices are. So regardless of what you do, what your choices in the game will never be negated by anything happening in any other media.
Well, so in video game sort of deals, that is pretty common. Even something as choose your own adventurous as Dragon Age, where you can screw up, what woman, or rather, here's a better example, Witcher, what woman you piss off or who you end up with. Do you end up with anybody? Which good guy do you want? Like the ultimate starting point and the ultimate end point of the story is always the same. But what you don't want is for there to be like this middle world where, like in this hypothetical video game, the Mandalorian decides to not kill insert person here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but what will always happen in the video game is that he turns over Baby Yoda, and then, because the game won't let you, maybe it'll let you try to doubt it, but then it kind of forces you there.
It's just closed off enough. Closed off might be a bad term, but it's the variables are insulated from the rest of the universe.
You can, and what it is what they have to do is they have to give you this perception of control, this illusion of control, where they're like, hey, yeah, you can do this stuff, but when you really think back on it and you talk to other people who played the game, you realize, like, wait a minute. Like,
it pretty much goes the same way.
Yeah, it's always going to go the same way, but you get to do this little thing here and there. Man, I'm there for it.
Speaking of Star Wars and kind of drifting into the comic realm, which I'm I freaking love, by the way.
Oh, you like that too?
Yeah.
Oh, I freaking love it. Yeah,
I freaking love comics.
By the way, we got a Reddit now.
We do have a Reddit. We're going to get to that later. Stop trying to
I'm excited.
That's a classic derail. A classic derail move.
That's what we do.
Yeah. So I was reading the Marvel preview, and man, so as far as expanded universe material since the Disney buy, I think some of the best stuff has been in the comics. I was actually just rereading Kieran Gillen's Vader comic, which kind of coincides with the Star Wars comic that takes place immediately after A New Hope. But the Vader solo series by Kieran Gillen starts right after A New Hope, and it includes so many like essential things that like you would think they should be in a movie. I mean, it really. A lot of times you read expanded universe material in any fandom, and you find that the stuff that's not the movies, they deliberately like keep the plot low impact to kind of protect their creative freedom from more larger bill content like movies. Not with the Star Wars comics. It really like I would almost say it's required reading to really enhance your Star Wars experience. Anyway, the preview I read, it's for another Star Wars solo series. And it takes place in the immediate aftermath of The Empire Strikes Back. And the little short that I read, it's like Lando and Luke and Leia and Chewie, and they're all on the Millennium Falcon immediately after The Empire Strikes Back. Luke is laying there like with his missing arm, and they're talking about like we got to go save Han, and it's awesome. Like I just know like this little gap in Star Wars history between Empire and Jedi is gonna be filled with a lot of really great shit. So.
Yeah, and that's what makes it awesome. And you gotta wonder if they did that on purpose, where like you take stories like I don't know. I can't even think of a good example right now, but just the kind of story where there's enough gap where, hey, we're going to start this from the dude's little and then we're going to go straight to an adult. Oh. And that provides all the fan fiction in the world to like just make up stuff that's in between it.
And that's really that's kind of the beauty of Star Wars is that it's unique. It's unlike anything else. It's unlike Marvel, like Marvel proper. I'm talking like superheroes. And it's unlike any of that stuff because you have these points. Like we know we have 3, soon to be 4 trilogies with huge gaps in between. Yeah. And so we know these things, and there's just so much story to tell, and it's like you're never going to run out of story because you have decades of things. Right. You know what I mean? Decades.
It's noxious cats. Just
stop.
Meowing
Look how
everywhere.
Her meow is cute, by the way, and she's chilling. She wants to be on the podcast. She has a lot of shit to say about Star Wars.
Saying my dog's cooler.
She's like, I would have liked to see more Ewoks.
My dog's cooler, and I would appreciate some respect.
Clickety, clackety, clackety.
That.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the fact that there's all these gaps, like, what is Luke Skywalker doing right now? What's Lando Calrissian doing from the end to Mandalorian? And we got games. We can tell you in a video game. We can tell you in a new book, a new video, a new movie.
There's a really good Lando mini that came out like a couple years ago, comics, and it's pretty awesome and it's drawn really crazily too. The comics are really doing it, and so far the TV shows are doing really well as well. So it is an exciting world. One area where I don't think they're pulling it off is the novels. You know, I've read a few of them. I haven't read even close to half or all of them, but. Let's see. I read Bloodline. I read Aftermath. I read Lords of the Sith. They vary in quality. And honestly, that thing that I was talking about earlier where it's like maybe they're afraid to make too much of a splash because they don't want to interfere with, I guess, more lucrative mediums like movies and games and then maybe comics too. It's definitely apparent in the books, I would say. It's almost like they're deliberately avoiding anything major in the books, and that's one of the issues I had with them.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue I had is that there was no pictures in the.
The pictures are in your imagination.
No. I gave up on that like at 11, and then I discovered comic books, and I never turned back. Now all my textbooks had no pictures, and it's gross.
Anyway, I recommend The Mandalorian.
I absolutely recommend The Mandalorian.
Are there any other Star Wars shows coming out that have been announced? Anything like that?
Not that I know.
Not yet.
Of, but we'll definitely announce it.
I could tell by the intro that they're trying to establish a brand for the Star Wars TV shows, like with the shiny faces before each episode.
Yep.
So maybe we can look forward to something else like that.
get Disney Plus, borrow your mom's login, and watch The Mandalorian.
Hell yeah.